Hello everyone and welcome back to Autumn Craft, Bushcraft and Outdoors. Okay, so what I thought we'd do in this video is take a look at this Optimus No.00 stove. Okay, so there's several parts to this stove. We've got the brass tank, which is just here, obviously that goes at the bottom. We've got the 3 pot supports, which are just there. And then there's the burner, which is this piece here. And then we've got ourselves a windshield and the flame spreader, which goes on top of the burner, and that's what helps distribute the flames properly. Okay, so what I thought we'll do now is have a look at how we fill up the stove with paraffin, or if you're in other parts of the world, kerosene. Okay, to fill the tank we start off by removing the fuel cap, which is just here. And then we can bring in a funnel and pour the paraffin in. Okay, so once the stove's been filled, I normally take a cloth and just give it a wipe over, just in case there's any spillages. And then we can replace the fuel cap and make sure that's nice and snug. Okay, so now that the tank's filled, we're ready to put the burner on top of the stove. So what we do is remove the burner cap, which is just on top. And then that just stores on the end of the pump handle, which is threaded so you don't lose it, and that just sits there on the pump. Okay, before we put the burner on, I'm just going to pop the windshield on. Flame spreader has to come off for that. Windshield just goes on just like that. Flame spreader back on top, and then we're ready to place the burner on top of the stove. Just like that. Okay, so when these stoves were originally made, they were supplied with a little spanner that you can use to tighten up the burner on the top. I don't have that with my one, so I just use a pair of pliers and I just snip that up tight, just that there's no air leaking. Reproduction spanners are actually available online now as well, so you can always pick one of those up. Okay, so once the burner has been placed on top of the tank, we're ready to put the pot supports on. And they simply just go into these little guides on each side of the stove like that, and that's the stove assembled, and now we're ready to light it. Okay, so when it comes around to lighting these stoves, we have to preheat the burner first. So in the top of the burner there's a little cup, and that's where you put your methylated spirits. You can also use biogel as well. That's probably a little bit of a safer option, less likely to spill it than methylated spirits, but traditionally methylated spirits is what we normally use in the UK. Okay, so I'm going to pour in the methylated spirits now. You can spin the windshield round to make this easier, but just so I can show you, I'll take out that pot stand so it's easier. I'm just going to come in with the funnel. Okay, now that we've poured the methylated spirits in, we're ready to light the stove. So what I normally use for that is either a lighter or a ferrocerium rod. So I'm just going to come in with the ferrocerium rod. Okay, so during this step, whilst we wait for the methylated spirits to burn down and preheat the burner, you want to make sure that the release valve on top is loose so that air can escape the tank. It is possible for this to self-pressurise otherwise if that's closed up. Okay, so once we see that the flame's starting to die down, we simply tighten up the valve on top and we give the stove a good few pumps. And then if it hasn't lit, we can simply come in with the ferro rod or the lighter, and that's how we light the stove. And then once it's lit, give it a few good more pumps and it will really start to pick up the pace. Burn nice and hot. And that's how we light the stove. And that's how easy it is to light the stove. As you can hear, it's not particularly quiet. Okay, so this is how we adjust the intensity of the flame. We simply release air from the tank and we can turn it down to a simmer. And if we need to take it back up a little bit, we can simply pump more pressure back into the tank. And that then increases the intensity of the flame. So as you can see there, that's a nice simmering flame. And if we want to take it all the way back up again, we simply just pump more air back into the stove. And that builds the pressure back up, just like that. Okay, so as you can see, it doesn't take too long to bring the kettle up to a boil. Okay, so when it comes round to turning the stove off, all we simply do is just release the valve on top. That releases all the pressure from the tank, and that's what makes the stove go out. And if you're looking to pick up one of these stoves, you will need to replace the seals on it. More than likely it's been sitting in a garage or a shed for a couple of decades. The seals inside dry out, crumble up, and you'll have air leaks all over the place. So there's plenty of kits available online and videos online on how to service these stoves. They're all pretty similar in how they operate and how they come apart.